new office, new building, very excited. So welcome everybody, we've done it.
Good morning everyone. I would like to begin by paying my respect to the local Indigenous people, the Wongal clan, one of 29 tribes of the Eora Nation, the traditional custodians of this land, where we are meeting upon today, and pay my respect to their elders past and present. I extend that respect to Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people here today as well. I'd like to welcome everyone to the official launch of the Children's TUMOUR Foundation at the historic Ardell House. It's been a big 12 months for the foundation. The Children's TUMOUR Foundation was not spared by the impact and effects of the global pandemic. Yet with the ongoing support of the community, our supporters and stakeholders, including the federal and New South Wales government, we were able to focus our energy on improving the health outcomes for everyone impacted by neurofibromatosis in Australia. Advocating for change is at the heart of what we do, not just at an individual level, but also with government. It was through the efforts of the team and key community supporters, including Shelley Lind and Kirsty Whitehead, that $7 million has been invested into research and support by the federal government in 2021 with the Medical Research Future Fund grant round, something we are incredibly proud of to have achieved. Ardell House is a wonderful building which has a rich history, built in 1860. The Society came together with Mr. George Ardell and the Ardell House Society to allow not-for-profit organisations with a children's focus to move into this space over the years. We are truly thankful and honoured to now form a part of this site's history. We are grateful for the recommendation and introduction by Dr. Fiona Martin to the Ardell House Society Committee. These premises will see us work towards our vision of life without limitations for everyone living with neurofibromatosis. Recently, we updated our mission statement to provide hope for everyone impacted by neurofibromatosis in Australia by advocating for change, advancing research, and empowering this community with the knowledge, connections, and support needed at every stage of their journey. Firstly, lead change. We advocate and work collaboratively to make NF a national priority. Secondly, support and inform. We provide personalised, accessible support and resources free of charge to every person impacted by NF in Australia. And thirdly, advanced research. We collaborate to progress promising Australian NF research by investing in new technologies, studies and clinical trials. Thank you again for your attendance today and of course your ongoing support of the Children's TUMOUR Foundation.
Thank you very much. It's wonderful to be here this morning, still this morning. I'd also like to acknowledge the traditional owners on the land in which we meet, the Wongal people of the Eora Nation, and pay my respects to elders past, present and emerging, and to all Indigenous people across Australia. I'd like to acknowledge John Hewson and everybody here from Ardell House. I'd like to acknowledge Ruth, Leanne and Meredith from the Children's TUMOUR Foundation, and I'd also like to acknowledge the academics and researchers who are here this morning. I'll just begin with a little bit of an introduction. My dear colleague from the Federal Parliament, Mike, from the other team. Mike and I sit on many committees together, so we see each other quite a lot. You're welcome. When I first met Ruth and Meredith over in Five Dock, when the Children's TUMOUR Foundation was located above a physio, I think, in Five Dock.
It was a tanning salon.
Yeah, was it a tanning salon? I immediately felt a connection to the Children's TUMOUR Foundation, and also an immediate connection to the energy and dedication and passion that came from, from Meredith and Ruth. They are so dedicated to their work and what they did, and I spent probably more time than I had allowed, because I think my staffer was probably saying, Fiona, you'll leave now. You've got to move on. But I just felt that this particular not-for-profit in my electorate was one that I needed to spend more time on. And we had a long discussion about what needed to be done, and we talked about all the priorities for the Children's Tumour Foundation, and there were all sorts of things that needed to be done, but one of those things was to find a new home. And I know that for a short time you were working from your own homes around the area, and I think it was just about matching up community groups, because I had just come from a beautiful visit here with Robert and John, and I'd been on a tour, and I'd come away thinking how incredible this building is, and the history here, and what the purpose of this building and mission of this building is about. And there were a few phone calls, and the next minute was like, I think you two need to speak to each other. And so it was just a match, really, and a great match it is. So I'm so grateful to be here today to see it all come to fruition, and to see so much amazing work that's going on. And I am reminded that I am a politician, so I need to rattle off some of the things that we've done for you. And I'm proud that we're investing $8 million to support the foundation and research into neurofibromatosis, which is incredibly important. $7 million has been allocated for the Medical Research Future Fund, neurofibromatosis research grant opportunity, and this grant aims to support the groundbreaking research projects to develop new interventions and improve healthcare and outcomes for people living with neurofibromatosis. So incredible work that's going on. The 2021 Neurofibromatosis Research Grant Opportunity funding is the part of the Emerging Priorities and Consumer-Driven Research Initiative. And this initiative is designed to support high quality biomedical, clinical health services and population health research. The research aims to improve patient care, find new diagnoses, treatments and cures for those suffering from rare and debilitating conditions, and translate new discoveries into clinical practice. In addition to the Medical Research Future Fund funding, the Morrison government is also providing $1 million over 4 years to help fund the foundation to continue to work in advocacy and research and support families and children, importantly, who live with neurofibromatosis. And I think with the government's investment and the foundation's many other supporters, I'm hopeful that the research being conducted through the Children's Tumour Foundation will continue to improve the lives of Australians living with neurofibromatosis, and can I just add, with a local member that cares very much about the work that you do. So I won't go on anymore, but I'll just say this: I am very committed to your foundation. You have an incredible board and an incredible team. Ardell House do incredible work, and I see a great future here, and congratulations. You're welcome.
Actually, can I just say, Fiona, we are so appreciative of your support. We actually are, as you know, a small group that have many challenges, but I think over the last 18 months they have been particularly difficult. But I'd like to thank those that have actually supported this organisation and allowed us to actually grow and develop. And there are many that I'd like to thank, but I do want to single out you, Fiona, for your support, particularly given the fact that we have secured this funding. And I can say that it's absolutely fundamental and important for us to be able to grow and develop. So it is a big thank you. And on the subject of the office space, I think I do have to single out two people, which is Meredith and Ruth, who they were very persistent, actually, I think is the word, in making sure that we ended up here. And I also want to thank Hugo Dudley-Smith, where's Hugo? For your help in making this happen. And of course also John, without your blessing and support, this wouldn't have also been possible. So, and I think the fact that George Ardell is the founder, and I think his values ring true to where we want to be, and so I think there's definitely a common ground with us here. So I'd also like to acknowledge Mike. We had a good chat, and I know how challenging life is in Canberra for both of you. So I think as a group, we all thank you for the work that you do, because health is a particularly important area for all of us, especially given what's happened over the last 18 months. So a special thank you for that. I do want to just recognise the board members that we have here. Luke Goldsworthy, Hugo Dudley-Smith, Nomal Hansrud, Wes Lambert and Lawrence Dell. And of course there are other members who couldn't unfortunately join us today, and But I do particularly want to thank our board members for all their support. Actually, Leanne did touch on the fact that we've established a medical advisory panel. Mimi, so many thanks for taking on the role of chair. And also I want to thank Jeff. Jeff, you are going to say a few words in a moment. Jeff McGarridge, thank you also for being kind enough to join our committee. That's very much appreciated. So I just say that our patron, we're very fortunate to have Alicia Locks here as our patron. Unfortunately, Lisa was not able to join us today from Melbourne, but she sends her best wishes to you all, and she's very much looking forward to coming into our Dell House. She's a big fan and a supporter of our organisation, and we've been very fortunate to have her support in terms of promotional work she's done for CTF over the last 12 months in her role at Channel 9. As Leanne touched on, 2021 has been a very challenging year for many charity organisations, not just CTF. I mean, I think as a result of the hard work of the team and the support of the board, I do feel that we've made many important steps forward. And I think, as I touched on earlier, that both the federal and the state funding have been absolutely key in giving us the opportunity to move the organisation forward. Before I wrap up, I just want to make a big thank you to NF parents Shirley Lind and Christy Whitehead, who were particularly important in playing a role in helping us facilitate the federal funding, and I think we should all convey our thanks to them for their support. This as I've touched on, the financial support, particularly given the challenges in raising funds over the last 12 months, has been absolutely key, and it has enabled us to appoint Leanne in the role of CEO in August, and I think you're well and truly up and running now. And we're delighted to have you as our CEO, and we look forward to a long and strong relationship as we take the organisation forward. And of course, the funding has helped us with being able to enter into this lease here today. So we're here to celebrate the office opening, and this is an important and exciting step forward for the organisation. I think the team have done a fantastic job in setting up the offices. I think you'd all agree they look really, really good. So thank you for that.
Thank you, Leanne. Dr. Freelander, Dr. Martin, Shanu, Mr. Dowling, members of the board, Mr. Hewson, Team Ardell, Team CTF, Leanne, and friends of CTF. Well, thank you for having me. I grew up in Strathfield, actually. Went to St. Pat's. Mother still lives about 1 kilometre away, I think. So it's good to be back. I noticed Dr. Martin went to Santa Sabina, another Strathfield connection there. The last time I shared a podium with a Santa Sabina girl was in 1979. The school orchestra at Sydney Town Hall, and I was the leading violinist, I'll point out. But, I remember we got to Land of Hope and Glory, and we get to the chorus and everyone started standing up, and I didn't know this is the thing. That's what they do. And I thought, what's going on here? They're all leaving. I don't know. Anyway, I calmed down. Dr. Freelander as well, another Strathfield boy, went to Trinity. We beat them in the 14Bs, so all's fine, no problem. But anyway, look, thank you for having me here. So I'm a children's cancer doctor at Westmead, but you know, NF1 and 2 affects many more organ systems than just cancer, and the support of CTF more broadly is hugely important, and support Sally here, working out at the Children's Hospital, who seems to know every single patient by name and their parents and where they live, but also the support at North Shore Hospital is extraordinarily important. It's so easy for kids to leave children's hospitals and move into adult land and then flounder and look for somebody who can even spell neuro. But yes, they can really flounder and get lost, and to find some passionate advocates with resourcing to handle it is so critically important, this transition phase. So really valuable, and similar programs in Melbourne I know and elsewhere. But today my thing is in cancer, And children, adults with NF1 develop tumours sometimes, and that's where I come in, and I don't deal with all the other things as much. But for years we've treated optic nerve gliomas, tumours of the optic nerve, which are low-grade tumours, but they're tumours, they grow, and we've had to give cancer drugs to them to stop them growing. And we've been doing that for years and continue to do so. But there was this other tumour type you all know about, plexiform neurofibroma, which is a tumour that just grows slowly, relentlessly, and just sort of keeps growing. And they can cause real major problems. They can cause compression, say, of nerves, of spinal cords. They can cause terrible pain because they're arising from the nerve. They can cause terrible deformity, and it's life-changing, deformity. And there was nothing we could do about it. All that we ever had was surgery to operate on these tumours, and those operations were often extravaganzas, terrible operations, huge operations, and oftentimes there just wasn't an operation and there was nothing that could be done. And none of the drugs worked, and radiotherapy didn't work. And the reason they grow is this: in neurofibromatosis there's a chemical that's not working properly, and so the grow signal, it's stuck in the on position. The grow signal to cells, it's stuck in the on position, so they just grow and grow and grow. Anyway, along came a melanoma drug of all things, selumetinib, trametinib, drugs for melanoma, and smart people worked out that this could turn off that locked-in on signal, and so studies began giving selumetinib for plexiform neurofibroma, and they found that most of the time the tumours stopped growing, and a lot of the time they got smaller, and pain settled down, and there were mobility benefits, a whole lot of benefits. So this was huge. Now the problem, of course, is that trametinib, selumetinib, obscenely expensive drugs. Think, I don't know, $50,000 a year, every year, for the rest of your life, right? We convinced Novartis to give us trametinib for free if we could conduct a clinical trial. And so we get the drug for free for the Australian kids. And that was good. But running a clinical trial is hugely expensive and complicated. If you're going to do good science, you have to do it properly. You need all sorts of resources and staff and the ethics committees and, sending scans around the world to have them reviewed and toxicity monitoring. And it goes on and on and on. It's a huge undertaking, and we needed to find resourcing to do that. For this trial, the TINT trial, trametinib in neurofibromatosis tumours. And so we're very grateful that CTF came to the party to support this trial so we could get it open and start enrolling children all around Australia into the trial. It gives them access to the trametinib. We're learning from the trial. We're collecting the data, and that will inform the TGA and the PBS, I would hope, in years to come, and doing some good. We're also testing. It's an interesting sideline to the trial is we wonder, could the trametinib, the MEK inhibitor drugs, could it make the brain work better for learning? If some of the kids have learning problems, could it help with learning problems? So we're testing all those neurocognitive things, and a bunch of other children who don't need trametinib but have NF1, and we're testing them. We're trying to work out, is the drug good for that as well? So it's a huge thing, and because we had enough funding to get started, then we were successful approaching MRFF to get still more money to expand how many centres, and we were able to have every children's hospital in the country participate. And that's the sort of thing that the funding from CTF is supporting, and we're enormously grateful for that. We'll also congratulate you for extracting $7 million out of MRFF for NF research, and we're also recipients of that. One of the things that plexiform neurofibroma can do is changed from a slow-growing, non-malignant tumour to a very aggressive, nasty, malignant cancer tumour. It's very hard to work out if that's happening. It doesn't usually happen, but if it is going to happen, you'd like to find it early. And so we've been successful getting a grant to take blood samples over the years, lots and lots and lots of blood samples, and see if we can detect the malignant change in the circulating DNA in the blood. So it's a bit more cutting edge, and we'll see if it amounts to anything, but that's the sort of thing the MRFF grant has also come to support.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Janu, and I was diagnosed with neurofibromatosis when I was 9 years old. And when I was first diagnosed, the NF clinic had just started at the Children's Hospital, and the Neurofibromatosis Foundation, which is what the foundation was called back then, wasn't that well known. In fact, I don't think it actually existed back then. So while the doctors were fantastic, there was actually no other support structures available to me and my parents when I was diagnosed, and it just made navigating neurofibromatosis super challenging. And things only got worse when I was an adult, because the Children's Hospital said, well, you're an adult now, we can't see you anymore. And I said, well, where am I supposed to go? And they kind of looked at me blankly, because there was no adult NF clinic. So I was just sort of dropped into a medical abyss, and that was that. And so for a whole heap of time, my NF actually went untreated, unmonitored, and I just went to plastic surgeons to try and remove tumours that were sort of, I guess, like bothersome to me from a physical appearance point of view. And it was only after several years that I finally sort of learned about the Children's Tumour Foundation that they'd actually grown, and that's what they were called now. And I reached out to them, and they put me in touch with all the right doctors to go to the NF skin clinic, to also get monitored for breast cancer, which is one of the things that can happen to women who are over 30 with neurofibromatosis, see all the right doctors, and that actually got my treatment sort of back on track again. And they gave me lots of other support in other ways. So when I actually had to shave my hair off to have an operation to remove tumours from my head, I thought, why not raise money for the Children's Tumour Foundation? And I ended up tripling my fundraising goal and ended up raising $16,000. And it was from there I became an NF ambassador and the face for the Children's Tumour Foundation and NF. And after I sort of went public with all of that, people actually started reaching out to me saying, I've been diagnosed with NF, and my child's been diagnosed with NF, and they didn't know where to go because they didn't know about the CTF. So it's just really great that there's somewhere I can point them to go to and say, they will support you, they will go and help you talk to your kid's school and get all the support structures that you need to navigate life with NF. And for a long time, the CTF were in this small little headquarters in 5 Dock, which is on top of a tanning salon. And it's just so nice to see that, they've grown so much that they have these beautiful headquarters here with all the room they need to do everything they're doing and their ever-growing needs, and they can keep growing here. So it's really exciting, and I'm so, so grateful for the Children's Tumour Foundation for the support they give me and other people with neurofibromatosis, just to make things that little bit less scary. So thank you very much, and congratulations on your new headquarters.
Congratulations, CTF, for your new office.
Congratulations, CTF. It's a great new office. We've had a wonderful afternoon here.
The tenure for Ardle House is to supply office space and working areas for children's charities, or any charity that works with children. So this is a wonderful fit, a really excellent fit for us. and we've been delighted with the way in which they've settled in and the way in which we've been able to help as well.
Great to be asked here today, the opening of CTF Foundation's new office in a beautiful and historic adult house in North Strathfield. I'm very grateful to be invited. It was fantastic to see so many people here who are very supportive of the foundation, from board members to patients to doctors, and I now know that the children I see with neurofibromatosis will be able to get the best possible treatment and access to the best possible information about NF. There will be a cure in the future for many of the neurogenetic diseases like NF, and it's great to know we have an organisation in Australia that's providing patients with support and also access to the information and the best possible treatment here in Australia.